Hey guys, so I'm making some oracle cards, and these are sort of your Greek version of oracle cards, and I think they're pretty badass. You know, these are stories that we probably all learned. You know, there's Mother Gaia right there. You probably know these characters, or at least remember some of it. Heracles there, you know, that's Achilles killing Hector, Dionysus. And so I've been making these, and I kind of think, you know, that I'm doing all this tarot. So like, you know, the Ten of Wands feels like a burden, but this nice little Greek take on it, you know, Atlas just freaking housing it like it's nothing. That's badass. Leonidas. You know, this is Poseidon, and he's got some like half horse, half seahorse part of his chariot. And I can't help but think like, okay, well that reminds me of the chariot, but it's all aquatic. So maybe that's, you know, him being badass with his emotions or something. There's Apollo. So, you know, the sun in this deck. That's not Athena. I forget her name right now. Here's Zeus. But, you know, I'm working on this little deck. And I think it looks badass, and it's like, it reminds me of some of these other cards, but at the same time, it puts like a different spin. You know, you got these peacock feathers that are sitting on her house and home. You know, here's Hermes. You probably know him. And the cards feel nice. They feel cool. There's Athena, Aphrodite. I'm gonna say that one for last. Kronos eating rocks and lies. Persephone, you know, maiden at one time and sort of matriarch at another. And I think the most badass one so far is Hades. Look at that dog. Big mean dog sitting there. You know, your like demonic pit bull. If you needed a more demonic pit bull. Anyways, I want to go do a radiant pathway, but this is like a little treat for myself. I would like to see this do well. And it turns out I don't even have to do all that many of these to make it pay for itself. So like, if I can move like 250 copies, then I can get the lowest price there is. And you know, 250 copies in something like a Kickstarter isn't all that much. You know, maybe that's $5 grand or something. So I bet I could do that. I bet I could hit that. And I think if I, you know, do a little manifesting with this would be like a neat little test case for manifesting something small. You know, I've tried this with my jacket, and I've tried it with my mother's jacket, neither of which have been returned to me yet, but it's okay. You know, there's nothing urgent about those. I bet they're coming though. But here would be another one where I can just do a little test and just see, you know, is the good Lord going to favor me with 250 people that would say, yeah, I'll get that. You know, just keep it cheap, keep it simple. I think there's something like 16 cards per sheet. So I'm thinking 3 sheets, that's 48 cards. It's a good oracle deck. Maybe 1 or 2 of them are blank, so people can go create their own or replace something if they lose it. But I don't know. I just thought that would be pretty fun. And you know, what I ultimately am leading towards is a expansion to tarot for alchemy and being an alchemist, and the sort of like path you got to go through. If you're on the like hardcore light worker path, the like light warrior pathway, shit's hard, and it's different than like your normal pathway. So I want to put in to like a standard deck, which I want to make biblical. So like your Noah's Ark is now like your 6 of Swords, and Jesus is literally the sun. So I want to put these into there. I think that would be pretty stellar. Have you know, have angels instead of aces, you have your angels. That's what I think that was always meant to be. But I want to put in either the fates or aether, the ether, because, you know, they represent earth, air, fire, and water. But there's a fifth element. It's the ether. It's the aether. Typically, you know, you might see it A-E, and oftentimes those two letters are combined. I think that's got its own special word. But there's a fifth element, and it's the aether. And it's part of what holds everything together. And it's part of what, you know, it's the like consciousness that we're working with that's like in between things. You know, pulling things together, the like subconscious, the deep-seated mystical. And so, you know, I think we're missing that. And, you know, I kind of have this as like the alchemist's journey. I've been doing a ton of alchemy, some personal alchemy, trying to do it some for other people too. And, you know, the ace would be Uriel handing you the lantern, because, you know, that's the start of your quest. The angel kind of delivers the hermit's lantern to you. And the hermit's all about going inwards, but this is sort of like its own special path. So, you know, when you're starting out, you're the hermit and you're going inwards, but then you keep going. So step 2, it's sort of you and Uriel hanging out together. So that's kind of your 2 of aether, 2 of fate. The 3 would be you, the angel, and your shadow, because alchemy is all about turning your own shadow work, the stuff that you're afraid of, the things that in your life that are causing you trouble, and all the stuff that seems the worst is actually the like greatest tool you have to manifest. It's like the most powerful thing that you can alchemize. You can't alchemize gold into gold. You alchemize lead into gold. You have to take the things that are crappy, that you don't like, that you don't love, that you want to be different, and that's what you perform alchemy on. So 3 is going to be all about, you know, it's you, this angel, and then you're sitting there working with your shadow. And then the 4 kind of reminds me of the 4 of Swords, where that card symbolizes rest. This card actually symbolizes like complete burial. You know, as we do in the Radiant Pathway, you gotta let the character die. You gotta let the previous version of yourself fall away, and you're left with a newer version of yourself that you kind of have to manifest. And the 5 I see sort of as a tree of life, because I think that's the best image I can think of, where you have to send your roots as far down as possible and your like spirit as high as possible. And I think the tree of life represents that. And to me, it's sort of like your light body activation, but it's also when you're in the long dark night of the soul and you've already done your manifesting, or you're on your path to try to like figure out how alchemy works, and you're in the world and it just sucks. You're going through the worst of it. People that you thought loved you the most are the ones that are harming you the most, letting you down, stabbing you in the back. You know, you've probably been able to make some good amounts of money in the past, only to have it taken away. And I think that's part of this pathway. You have to experience that greatness, have it taken away, you know, have it come back a few times. But you just can't win. You can't be stable. And I don't think that's permanent. I think that's part of the process. And, you know, while you're trying to manage that, you're just freaking stuck in it, and it hurts, and it's frustrating. Now, I forget what I did for the 6. The 7 to me is, I'm missing a couple of these, but when you get to 10, that's when you get your first teeny tiny nugget of gold. And that means that behind that, at the 9, you have your demons. And I think your 8 is the goblins. And you got to deal with all of this. So I forget my 6 and 7 right now. I have it written down somewhere. But that's your progress. Then you get to the face cards. So, the modern version of this, where it's like the page and the knight, I actually prefer the son and the daughter, because a lot of this tarot stuff is about your divine masculine, divine feminine. And so I'm planning on going back. I don't know if I'll do prince and princess or son and daughter, but probably keep them as face cards. So I guess prince and princess. But your divine masculine, your divine feminine, they still serve as kind of messengers, but it's a little bit more clear that it's a masculine energy versus a feminine energy. And the knight, or the sun, I think is like a funky card that always stands for you doing action. So whereas like every other card in the deck could be somebody else or something, that this knight, the knight of fate, or the knight of aether, or the knight of ether, he always represents you. And I think the daughter has to represent some kind of like pure innocence, because I do think there's another path to this that's not like quite as half-cocked, but at least the masculine path, I think, is, you end up half crazy. And I don't think I'm any different. I've been freaking flown, like tossed to my utter limit, and I've stayed there. I've been telling a handful of friends I have left, I feel like I have been like at my edge, at the abyss for freaking 5 years, and it just keeps getting worse, and it's harder and harder, and it's just like I'm in the hydraulic press, and it's trying to squeeze out all this stuff out of me, and I firmly believe in pronoia. So the term paranoia, and paranoia is what's bad for you. Pronoia is that like everything is acting in your benefit or to help you. So firm believer in pronoia, and it's hard to do that because I've been through incredible pain. How do you do something like, hey, I've had pregnancies that we've lost. How do you freaking turn that into like pronoia? That gets dark, that things have to die for my benefit. But, all this stuff is contractual. Everything is here to fuel my growth. And same for you, that's to fuel your growth, whatever that is. But, I am a radical pronoist, just refusing to believe anything other than the universe is acting in my best interest. Now, the queen I think of as sort of like a slightly more normal shaman, earthly. The king and the queen have essentially lost all of their pentacles. They've lost it all. So they have some mastery of like their emotions. They have some mastery of their wands, their action, and their thoughts. They have clarity. They have vision. But they're doing alchemy because they're freaking at the edge of their limits, that their circumstances are squishing them, compressing them, hydraulic presses on their life, causing them pain and havoc. And so she's out there, doing her best to manifest a different future. So she's forward looking. Most of the queens are looking right at you, but I think this queen is going to look to the future, because she's just waiting for her manifestations to come in. She's done the work, she's done all the activity, and now she's waiting. And the king is going to look to the past, because even though he's done more or less the same things, he's doing this the masculine way, and rather than waiting to receive, he's fucking killing everything in his path, every demon, every goblin, not really people, but destroying the things that are interfering with his life, his peace, and like all the things that are causing this lack, this like you can't get past it. It's this sludge you're freaking moving through ever so slowly. He's half crazed. He's already killed a couple of these demons, which is fantastic. And he's got himself a crown that's made of the thorns of these demons that he's obliterated. But it's a heavy burden to bear. So that's the alchemist path. I think I got some other like major arcana I would introduce. You know, I've been watching a lot of near-death experiences, and I think there's pieces that we're missing. Like, you know, you go through a life review. And so I imagine that I'm going to have some kind of stand-in for a life review. You know, I don't think there's a card that really speaks to ancestors. You know, people will interpret cards to mean almost anything. And they might say, well, I can feel your ancestors around, or your guides. But, you know, there's some oracle decks that include outright ancestors coming to help you, or angels coming to help you, some kind of divine intervention. You know, I think these things aren't part of your standard path, but I think when you're a light worker and you're called to serve, and you're not just down here for karma, but you like volunteered. God said, hey, I got this hard mission and I need somebody to do it. And your dumbass is like, hey, I'll do it. And I don't mean any insult to God. God's amazing. But, you know, we're sitting there in the bliss of heaven being like, yeah, this thing is amazing. I feel so good. And, you know, I'm in God's light and nothing bothers me. And I'm sure I can do all of it. And you sign up and you basically take on the maximum amount of work that you possibly could in a lifetime. And so we as light workers are just like constantly fighting everything for at least half our lives. I mean, if you got a shorter assignment than that, kudos, boss. But I imagine for most of us, it's at least half. And then you get the second half, or third, something in that range, maybe quarter. But, you know, most of us, I think we get a good chunk of this where we have done all the alchemy, figured out manifesting, and now we can exist without all that pain and crap. And that's why I think there are these stories like Job in the Bible, where like everything gets taken away and then suddenly it's all back and multiplied. And I think there's some mastery there. I think there's some manifesting in there. I don't think that's just divine intervention doesn't just happen. I mean, maybe it can, and maybe that's like the super rare jackpot. But I think what ultimately happens is there's like prayers and manifesting. You go through your alchemy phase as you like learn, you're stripped of everything you have, you're driven half mad, and somewhere in that space you figure out how to conquer your demons. So you get to be the king, and he's kind of looking backwards to the past, maybe looking in a mirror or looking at his reflection, a little narcissist, like, not narcissist, but just, you know, staring at himself, trying to figure out, you know, what else in here is something I got to get rid of. You know, I've heard stories, there's like a version of people trying to unalive themselves, and the problem isn't that they actually want to die. The problem is that they want some part of them, some weakness, some feeling, some story, some emotion. They want that gone, and they can't imagine any other way to exist than in that like pain and sadness and doom and gloom and all that. But it's not because all of life is horrible. They just want to like chisel off one part of themselves, but it's just so freaking harmful and hurtful. And that's the alchemy that the King of Fates, the King of Aether, does. He's looking backwards, looking for anything else in his past, saying, with the mad eye, what else is coming? What else I gotta do? Well, I'll tear it all to shreds. And just goes through it, half mad, until he's done, one by one, lined up, which is why, like, you know, in my life, I keep seeing, like, the 9 of Wands and the 10 of Swords, you know, freaking 19 years. Some of that is overlap, but not all of it. 19 years of struggle. So that's the path of the alchemist. And I want like measurable bits of this. You know, by training, I'm a chemist. I'm a scientist. So talking about alchemy on one hand is sort of funny, but, you know, trained PhD, talking about spirit science and spirit woo-woo, that feels a little silly at times. But we dive into it because, you know, anything rational I've tried in my life to circumvent things for the last 5 years is insufficient. So let's take this path. Let's see if this works. Let's see if I combine my knowledge of law, my knowledge of science, and the deep parts of spirit that have awoken in me more recently. Let's see if I can put those together and make this shit happen. No, it all happens at a spiritual level first. You know, I believe that. I watched, like, you know, the anxieties that start in the head come down as a migraine later. You know, I've witnessed that 8 billion times in my marriage. So, you know, it starts in the spirit realm. And I see no reason why court, justice, judgment, all that wouldn't start there first too. So we're gonna envision this. That's what I have been envisioning. But today, I want to do something a little more simple and a little more fun. Showed you my cards. I thought they're cool. I thought they came out really well. And they look good. They feel good. Like, all of that was way better than I expected. So I want to manifest that being successful. And, you know, if God wants to interpret that as wildly successful, so be it. I kind of see this as a precursor to the tarot set I want to make that has the alchemy path in it. And then I see that as a precursor to, like, an entire alchemy set that isn't like glass and bottles, but is a set of cards that walk you through the radiant pathway and give you guidance of, like, hey, what do I need to strip? How long should I expect this to be? Under what conditions make the most sense? And what am I supposed to do with all this anyways? So I think I have a solution for all that. But, you know, before I go offering something weird, you know, I figure starting to build this little audience, I don't need but like 250 backers. That's pretty small. That'd be enough to print the decks at the cheapest price, ship them out. And if the good Lord wants to see that be successful, then we can go create that starting now, even as we go up this uphill. Sorry, guys. So we're going to go do a radiant pathway, and in that radiant pathway, we're going to go call in success this little Greek oracle set. And I think it's funny that it's oracle because the card back is the Oracle of Delphi, and then it's called the Oracle deck. So maybe it's the Oracle of Oracles. I don't know. I'll think of something a little dad jokey about it. But anyways, let's go manifest this thing into reality and success. So, do the radiant pathway. We got to get everything in alignment. You got to get your mind, your body, your heart, your soul in alignment. You have to take action that's aligned with that. And then you got to set your brain to accept and receive in and out to the universe and to the rest of consciousness that surrounds us. So, I am definitely feeling in my body. I can feel a little stress in my heart. Hell, I can even hear my heartbeat for a second there in my ears, in my head. I can feel the air going through my mouth. I feel the rocks poking into the ball of my feet. I can feel a little tightness in my right hamstring. A little sweat in my clothes. I'm just in my body. You might prefer to do that with meditation. That's allowed. I prefer to do it through action. You know, part of this is to get to a state where your brain isn't thinking about random crap. You're focused on the things you're focused on. Meditation works for that, but so does exercise. All right, now next up, we got to open up our heart. So heart, if you could kindly open, that would be great. And I see my heart kind of unfurl. There's a flame inside of like a little flower. It's like a candle that lives in a flower. It's kind of like the Scrooge candlelight holders. You know, you got kind of like this little cup and you're walking around your house with it. That's what I see my heart as. Kind of opens up in this old school archaic design. And when it's open, you know, I got my little flame there. I think of that as my eternal spark of God. And it's probably more complicated than just one little spark in my heart. But I think that's as good of a focal point as any. So now as I breathe, I am intentionally breathing this energy into my heart space. And I can feel, oh, I get some deer. I don't know if you can see that. There are 3 deer waiting out there for me. Just as I'm getting into my heart. Positive sign. Thanks, Abba. All right. Breathe in. Sometimes I do the double breath. Get that second flow into the nostrils. I think that can help me relax a little. Tells my system to like settle a bit. So if you want, try that. But I'm feeling okay. I feel a little constricted. It feels more constricted than just athletics. You know, I haven't been anxious in a while, which is amazing. I have had panic attacks. It's been a couple years, but I still get these things that are like shadows of panic attacks, and they're exhausting. In part because I'm worried that the actual panic attack is going to be there. So it's like the anxiety about the real anxiety. So it's like the penumbra or the shadow of panic and anxiety. My heart's feeling pretty big, and I know where I'm going. Look, this is just a small little radiant pathway. I'm not asking the Lord to change every aspect of my life with this one, but I'd like a little win, and I'd like to see this manifest as a big win. You know, it's not. I don't think I'll make a lot of money on this. It would be hard to make a lot of money because there's not like $5 to $10 per pack or something that I might make. So it's not really about the money. It's more about the like success and building that audience and being able to, like as I do subsequent sets, I want to build and build. And I feel like these Oracle ones are relatively cheap and easy to produce. So anyways, we're gonna go manifest this. So first we gotta see if there's anything in here that tells me I can't be successful. And I'm not expecting a whole lot. I've had successful Kickstarter campaigns. I did it even when I was mildly insane. So I don't think this will be any different. But hey heart, I don't see the sun. I normally like to do this with a little sun so that I can squeeze out whatever's in there, have the sun help disinfect and squeeze it out. But no sun, so we're just doing it with the heart. Hey heart, hopefully you've heard me. I want to have a successful little Kickstarter campaign. I know this is but a small, tiny project when I already have a lot of shit going on, but I just feel this urge to be creative, and I feel this urge to share alchemy and the radiant pathway with others. And so I'm just hoping that you'll help me out here. So Hart, can you kindly let me know what would be standing in the way of success? And the first answer in a long time feels freaking positive. It's nothing. Nothing stands in the way. That felt good. Hart, okay, maybe there's nothing, but is there anything that's hindering this? Is there something that would stop this from being successful? It says if you get greedy. Yeah, that's a possibility, but I'd really like to keep this as a low-cost thing. You know, and my brain goes to like complexity. I want 10 different packages and no, none of that. And it's like, here's the cards, and then if you want the little booklet that comes with it rather than a PDF, it would be more simple. Crazy simple. All right. What else do we have here? So Hart, other than potentially being greedy, wait, I gotta go make a little vase. So in my mind's eye, I'm gonna build a small Chinese vase. I'm not expecting much here. There's not a lot of consciousness I got done for this one. I got this. I got a little vase. All right, so I'm gonna take some of my greed. I can be greedy, that's fair. I'm gonna dump that in the vase. Anything else, Hart? Anything else that might... Now, it sounds like I won't be stopped, but is there anything that might slow me down? And it's something like not relying on your angels. Okay? Well, I love my ancestors. I love my divine family. I love my angels and fellow archangels. These guys are amazing. I try to think to them and pray to them every day. So, but that's good advice. Look, hey guys, if you can help me make this a success, spread the word, find friends that might be interested, let people know, that would be great. So I can take a scoop of that, dump that in my vase. Okay, what else do we have here? Anything else in there, Hart? Anything else in there? Third eye? Crown? Anything that would stop me? Crickets. Well, I think I got this one. All right, you know, instead of doing this to the negative, let's try a little Neville Goddard style manifesting. Hart, can you tell me why this Kickstarter will be so wildly abundant and so filled with supporters who are enthusiastic for the Oracle deck? And it comes back with because they're going to love your product and it's at a fair price. That's great. What else you got in there, Hart? Why will this be a wild success? Because you will be showered with divine favor. Sweet. I love divine favor. Anything else? Anything else in there, Hart? Your third eye, crown. I guess maybe my lower chakras, community, tribe, soul tribe. Any of you guys got things to say? I'll say this will help foster a community for you. All right. Well, we'll scoop out. I mean, I don't know what to scoop there, but I'll scoop whatever's here, put it into the vase. I'll say, hey, mother Gaia, think I did justice to you? Do you like your card? I hear yes. She feels she looks beautiful. That's what I thought when I saw it. So, Guy, I got a little bit of consciousness for you. Can you take this? And I hear her say yes. So we'll lower that down. Give that to Gaia. I can see that go into the earth in my mind's eye. Take a deep breath. Oh, sigh that out. It's done. Got rid of the little bits of negativity. There wasn't much there. All right, so now I don't want this thing super far away. I guess I want to still be in my same house. So I have the pleasure of sitting in my house with fucking thousands of boxes. An unexpected delight. Doing like a fucking mega run. Well, that was unexpected, but that sounds great. Let's freaking do it. Let's freaking go. All right. So I'm like, I guess I'm going, and my kid's asking me, Dad, what are all of those? Why are those here? And he's just a little toddler. What is this? And he's like opening up packs that he shouldn't, messing around with things, doing as he does. And I'm just telling him, yeah, well, Daddy made this thing, and it's a deck of cards, and you've seen these cards, and lots of people wanted them, so I had to make a lot. I did. And now I gotta ship them all. I used to not enjoy that, but I think 10,000 or more might be more than I want to do. But you know, if I really get into this, there's like a zen or something of doing this. Maybe I'd hire somebody to help me. I don't know. Hire somebody for hours on end. 10,000 would take a lot of time. But that sounds cool. Let's go. Okay. So, what else have I got? I don't know. So, right, now we got to go. We have made a memory orb of this experience, and now we got to go make like a little light body. So from underneath, Guy's going to send us some energy. I always think of it as rust colored. Maybe you'll see something different. Hunter green might work as well, but I see rust. And rust energy comes up from the ground. Another guy is shooting it out of her palms and into me, in through my feet, in through my core, and through my chest, through my heart, my head, my crown, and up. And Father Sky is shooting down bright white energy. Feels delicious to my crown, to my third eye, my heart, my base, all the way through my feet, all the way down to the Jurassic core where Gaia sits. And we're forming this pillar. And inside of that, inside where our heart is, our little eternal flame here, there's like a little golden thread, and it's poking through our chest. So I'm going to pinch it and pull it out, stick it into a light body. It's kind of like a soccer ball that's surrounding us. And we're going to inflate that soccer ball. Take just a couple breaths. And feel all this energy moving through you. Feel it moving through. And send that energy into your light body. You know, it's like filling this thing with helium. Feel it expand. All right, and then we're gonna give this little oracle some love. Just a little Reiki. Send it on its way. We're gonna put it into the light body. Just all in our mind's eye. We're gonna give it some Reiki, give it some love, give it some parameters. My parameter is like unhinged success. I don't even know what that looks like, but let's assume it's thousands, tens of thousands, or whatever. You know, just some absurdly high number for something like this. Let people love it. Let them be excited for it. We'll see. I'm gonna send that up the Gaia, or not up the Gaia, up to Abba, push that up. Little breath behind it to send it sailing. I hear you got it, boss. All right, we'll see what that turns into. Well, I don't know exactly how much work I got to do on that, but you know, I got a designer that can help me. The images don't take too long, and you know, I'm good with this. I think it'll be fun. All right, I'm a magnet for this, so I'm like one of those U-shaped magnets. I'm gonna call this into my existence as a master manifester. You know, there's the thickness between my life with this and without it seems pretty thin. You know, calling in like a successful Kickstarter doesn't feel like I'm asking God for too much. So, you know, I can stick my hand through layers and layers and layers and layers of all the different realities, and I can pinch the reality that has this successful Kickstarter in it. And I'm gonna pull that into my life, and I guess I'll deposit that in me like a little seed. So it grows in me, it grows in heaven. These two things will meet. You know, I'm setting the intention to broadcast this and to receive these blessings and create this reality. Create this reality where it's a wild success. And you know, ultimately I want it to be successful so that I have a precursor to the expanded tarot deck, and I have a precursor to the alchemy deck. I think I got a printer that can do this, do a nice job, and send that out. So I'm excited for that. And they're local. They're really good people. Help me do a ton of things. Oh. All right. Well, gratitude to Allah. Gratitude to the universe. 4202 on the clock. That's 8. That's abundance. That feels pretty appropriate. I had an itchy nose that felt like right on the nose. You know, it's not the money. It's the audience. It's the manifesting something small, some small win in my life. That's what I'm up to, guys. Thanks for doing this with me. Hopefully these help you. I mean, I think this works. I think it is time consuming to like stand here and pull these things in, but I'm asking for like jackpots of miracles, and I've been through hell to get there. Right now I'm just asking for this little thing. I'm just I don't know that I'm asking, but I'm like co-creating this little thing. Hey God, let's go do this. I like to do this. Will you help me? Will you be a part of this with me? Will you co-create this reality with me? That's what it is. It's like trying to do this in partnership. And so I guess like I was hearing earlier, hey, go and talk to your angels. So angels, guides, you know, all the higher realms, divine family. My ancestor team, I think, is being pretty fierce, being pretty badass. You know, if you could spread the word up there, do it in heaven first, that would be cool. And I get that I might be sort of popular celebrity in heaven. I'm certainly not down here. Farthest thing from it. Ultimate hermit. But if you could bring some of that from up here to down here and bring this into reality so that this thing can be successful, I sure would love that. All right. Well, that's what I got for now. Thanks, everybody. I just heard a gunshot right as I'm ending. That's a good way to end. Anyways, much love, much thanks, and let's go see what this manifests. We'll see how it goes. You know, we're gonna see the results in like 3 months. So here goes. Thanks, guys.